How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Kuf Lamed Aleph. No, Daf Kuf Lamed Beis, Daf 132 of Masechta BavaBasra. Friends. Okay, so yesterday we talked about So Rabbi Yochanan ben Breka, we had the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan ben Broka about the children being able to inherit different amounts. Fine. Rava had asked, does that only apply to a shchiv mirror, or can it also apply to a healthy fellow? Okay, fine. It was kind of unclear where that ended up, but anyways, we're going to have two more scenarios today where Rava asked that same question of, does a certain thing apply to only a shchiv mirror or also a matnas bari? Here we go. Okay. Or also to a bari. Okay. Fine, here we go. We're going to start on Daf Kuf Lamed Aleph Amud Beis. We got about 5-10 lines or so to do on Daf Kuf Lamed Aleph Amud Beis. At the two dots, Amar Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, says Yehuda in the name of Shmuel, Akosef Kol Nechasav Leishto. If somebody writes that all of his property, his entire estate, should go to his wife as a gift, Lo asa ela apetrope. So it is not treated as a gift. She does not receive everything. Rather, when he dies, the children are going to inherit it, but she is going to be the apotropos. She's going to sort of, be the adult who's going to make sure that everybody's getting. She's going to represent the kids. An apotropos. Apotropos comes up from time to time. It's a representative of the Yisomim. So when he says that everything goes to her, he's not actually giving it to her as a gift. No, the kids are still going to inherit it, but she's going to be the representative for the estate on behalf of the kids. The idea there is like it's a thing of like covet. It's like a thing of like he wants to like honor her by like making her this representative of the kids, or honor her in the eyes of the kids, but he doesn't want to give the actual property to her as a gift in fact. Now, Pshita b'nai agadol lo yaso ela apotropos. Okay, now obviously also, if he says that my entire estate is going to go to my eldest son, so also he's not actually giving the entire estate to his eldest son, he's honoring his eldest son as being the representative of the estate for the children, or the children for the estate. B'nai ha'kohen mai, what about if he gives the entire estate to his youngest son? Itmar was stated of Chanilai bar Idi Amar Shmuel, afilu b'nai kohen amuto ba'arisa, even his little baby boy who's in a crib, even him, if he gives it to that little yingle, it's only as an apotropos. Pshita b'no ve'acher, okay, and certainly when it comes to if he gives all of his property, to any of his children, alternatively, if he gives all of his stuff to just some other person that he knows. So achib matanu v'no ba'apotropos, so this other person who he's giving it to, he's giving it to him as a gift. What else? He's not like, there's no, sort of honor in the family over here for a random person. And he's gifting it to that other person. But if he gives all of his stuff to one of his children, so it's just as a representative, some kind of covet. Okay. Ishto arusa vishto grusha. Now, if he gives his nechasim to his wife who he's engaged to, or who they are divorced. Okay, so there it's an actual gift, matana. That's going to be as a gift, not as a representative of for the Yisomim. What about the daughter? What about if he has sons and he gives everything to the daughter? Is she considered an apotropos, or is he gifting everything to the daughter? Or if he gives it to his wife, so meaning this is talking about a scenario where he has no kids and he also has no parents, so it would go to his brothers, but instead he gives everything to his wife. So is he giving it to her as a representative or as a gift. Ve'isha etzel b'nei abal, right? Or what if he has children? Let's say there's a scenario where he has children with one woman. Then let's say she dies and he remarries, and they don't have children. He doesn't have children with the second wife. And now when he dies, so the estate will go to his children that he had with the first wife. But he says all of his property is going, his estate is going to his wife. So So again, well, is he actually gifting it to her, or does she become a representative of the Yisraelim? Ravina says, Ravina Mishmei de Rava, the name of Rava, Bechulu lo kana. So in these scenarios, I believe starting with Ishto Arusa, Vishto Gerusha, and then you have Batsa Etzel Abanim, Isha Etzel Achim, Isha Etzel Bnei Baal, all these 5 cases. So says Ravina Mishmei de Rava, Bechulu, in all of these 5 cases, lo kana, so it is not a gift. Rather, it's an apotropis scenario. Levar me Ishto Arusa, Ve'ishto Gerusha. Gerusha. Yeah, exactly. Levar me Ishto Arusa Ve'ishto Gerusha. Except for a woman who is betrothed to or divorced from. In that case, it would be a gift to them. They're not going to represent his kids, his orphans. Va'avya Mishmei de Rava Amar says Va'avya Mishmei de Rava Bechulu Kani. That in all of these 5 cases, Kone Levar Mea Isha Eitzel Achin, except for the wife vis-a-vis the Nifter's brothers, and V'isha Eitzel B'nei Abal, or the wife vis-a-vis the children that he had with his previous wife. Really, the only nafkamina between Ravina and Rav Avia is really Bas Eitzel Habonim. What was it? Yeah, Bas Eitzel Habonim. Meaning because according to Ravina, right, he says B'chulu lo kana. It's not a gift, except for Arusa and Ishto Grusha. That's the only place where it's a gift, which means that by Isha Eitzel Achin and Isha Eitzel Abanim, as well as by Bas Bein Habonim, it's just an apotropis. Now, Rav Avira Mishmei de Rava Amar B'chulu Kani Levar Mea Isha Eitzel Achin ve'Isha Eitzel Abanim Abal, meaning Isha Eitzel Achin and Isha Eitzel Abal, it's an apotropis situation, but Ishta Arusa, Ishta Grusha, as well as Bas Eitzel Abanim, it would be an actual gift. So again, basically everybody agrees that both Ravina and Rav Avia agree that, and Rav Avira agree that by Ishta Arusa and Ishta Grusha it's going to be a matana, and that Isha Eitzel Achin and Isha Eitzel B'nei Abal is a apotropis scenario. The only differing one is the Bas Eitzel Habonim. Alright, anyways, yeah, kind of technical. Okay, Bari Rava asks, Bibari Heach. Now, how does this play out if he's healthy? Do we say that, look, when it comes to a shchiv mira, when he's on his deathbed, so he wants to, I don't know, let's say it's, let's say he has those, let's say when it comes to his wife, right? So he says if he gives all of his, right, we started off by saying that, right, where we said, Hakosev konochosev liishto. Somebody writes his entire estate to his wife, right? So in that case, let's say, do we say that, okay, by a shchiv mira, we'll say that he's just making her an apotropis because he wants the kids to show her respect. So he's sort of giving all the estate to his wife, and she's going to be their representative, and they need to respect her, right? He's putting her in a position of respect. That he wants the children to listen to his wife and show her respect. But if he's healthy and he's not dying anytime soon, well, then he's around and he'll make sure that that they're listening to her and that everything's working out. So maybe this it wouldn't be considered an apotropis in that case. Or Dilma, or perhaps Bari Nami Nichale Dilshamun Mila Me'ashta, or maybe the same would apply also to a Bari when he's healthy, because even when he's healthy, the point is that he wants to make it known to his kids that they should be respectful to his wife. Okay, fine. Well, Tashma, come and hear. Akose Paris Nichosov Leishto. If a person writes, basically gives to his wife the fruits of his property. He's not giving the property to his wife, he's giving her the fruits. So, gova ksubaso min akarka. Okay, well, if they get divorced or if he dies, so okay, she receives fruit. She had already received the fruits of his fields. That's great, but she could still collect her ksuba from the actual property, right? Because he didn't give her the property, he gave her the fruits. So when he dies, she can collect her ksuba from the property. Okay, if he gives her half of his property, a third of his property, a quarter of his property, well, then if he dies, she can collect ksuba from the remaining property that he has not already given her. He can collect ksuba from that, meaning he gifted her a half, a third, a quarter of his property. In addition to that, she can collect ksuba from the remaining parts of the property. Kosav kol nechasav liishto, if he writes all of his property to his wife. Now this is similar to what we had at the beginning, right? I'm reading from the beginning. Hakosev kol nechasav liishto, right? So if he writes all of his property to his wife, v'yotza olav, okay, fine. So now, things now get interesting in this scenario. So things now get very interesting in this scenario. So the husband writes all of his property over to his wife. Now what's so interesting about this is that, well, when they had initially gotten married, so he had written her a ksuba. The ksuba has a value. Ksuba is a contract, it's a document. In the event of death, she can collect the value of the ksuba from his property, from his estate. Now, here's the thing. He now, at some later point, let's say a few years later, whatever, at some later point, he gives her all of his property. So the shaila becomes, yeah, kind of the shaila becomes. But anyways, at some later point, he now gives her all of his property. Okay, as a gift. Very nice. But then what happens? So let's say the husband's name is Ruvain. Ruvain gave his wife all of his property at some later point. And after that, guess who comes along? Shimon. Shimon comes along and says that actually Ruvain owes him a lot of money. And Shimon, Ruvain couldn't gift his... Shimon says to the wife, your husband Ruvain couldn't gift you all that stuff because it was meshubed to my loan. I don't even know what I just said. I hope I just said stuff that makes sense. But Shimon comes along and he says, look, I loaned your husband Ruvain a lot of money. I loaned him that money before he gave you all of his estate as a gift. Which means he had no right to give it to you as a gift. I'm taking that gift away from you because it's nechas meshubadim. It was meshubed to my loan that I lent him. So the shaila is, okay, fine, Shimon is entitled to take that property from her because Ruvain couldn't give his wife all of his property when there's a lien on it to the loan that he took out from Shimon that he never paid back. But now here's the shaila, what happens to the ksuba? When Ruvain dies, right, so Shimon had come along and taken away the gift, right? Ruvain had given her all of his property as a gift. Ruvain had given his wife all of his property as a gift. The thing is that he had owed money to Shimon. Shimon then takes the property away from the wife. Ruvain now is gestorben, he's dead. The wife now says, okay, well, what about my ksuba? I want to collect my ksuba. So obviously what's going through her mind? Well, why don't I go to Shimon and collect the ksuba? Because after all, I got married and I have my ksuba document before Shimon lent money to my husband. Kilu, what was the chain of events? They got, right, Ruvain and his wife got married. There was a ksuba there. Later on, Ruvain borrowed money from Shimon and his property became meshubed to the loan. After that, Ruvain gifted his property to his wife. Shimon then takes the property away from his wife. She doesn't have it anymore. Ruvain now dies. She now says, okay, well, I have this contract from before the loan. That's, the ksuba contract. So she says to Shimon, well, now I want to collect my ksuba. I'm entitled to collect the ksuba from that property because that property, I had a lien on that property from before you lent the money, so therefore I should be able to collect my ksuba from the property that you took away from me. So the shaila is, can she say that? Okay, there's a few moving pieces over here. So let's read that again. So kosav kol nechasav liishto. I'm like 5-6 lines into the Amud Kuf Lamed Beis Amud Aleph. Kosav kol nechasav liishto. If Ruvain rode over, right, gave all of his property to his wife, but then Shimon comes along and says to the wife, actually Ruvain couldn't give you all of his stuff because I lent him money and he defaulted on the loan. I'm taking the property away from you, wifey. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, so Rabbi Eliezer says that now in the case that now when Ruvain dies, and now his wife, who lost her all this property that was taken away from her from Shimon, she now says, okay, what about my marriage contract? Let me go and collect that from Shimon. So Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Tikra matnoso Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Tikra matnoso v'tamra ksubasa. So Rabbi Eliezer says, okay, she's entitled to collect her ksuba from the property that Shimon confiscated from her, because her ksuba was before his loan. And therefore, again, tikra ksubasa, no. Tikra matnasa, okay, let's just tear up that gift that Reuben gave her. Let's just forget that he ever gave her a gift. And the fact of the matter is that property was initially meshubah to her ksuba, and therefore v'tamar al ksubasa, and let her take her ksuba, and let her go to Shimon and say, hey, I'm collecting my ksuba from this property that you took from Reuven. The Chacham say, fakert, tikra ksubasa v'tamura matnosa, no. Her ksuba is basically torn up, and we go based on the gift, i.e. what ends up happening is that the gift essentially replaces the ksuba. That basically you tear up the ksuba because he had gifted her all of the property, and then she lost that property, and when she accepted that property as a gift, she essentially relinquished claiming her ksuba from him, because now she's getting all the property. She doesn't need the ksuba anymore. What's she going to collect the ksuba from? The property. She has all the property. So therefore, when she received the gift, she be'etzem relinquished claims of the ksuba, but that means that when Shimon confiscated the property from her, so she lost that gift, and she also can no longer claim the ksuba because she relinquished claims to the ksuba when she accepted the gift. So again, so Chacham say tikra ksubas, or she loses her ksuba, v'tamar matnosa, what she has is the gift, but then Shimon took the gift away from her, so now, v'nimtzes kerachas mikan mikan, she's basically bald in both areas. Keilu, she's lost the gift, and she's also lost her ksuba, she's got nothing. From Rebuda Nachtoim, Rebuda, I guess the baker, says, Maisa ve'era adover b'vasachisi kala, that this taka happened with my daughter-in-law. I think maybe it means that his son married his bas achosi, his niece. But anyways, it happened to his daughter-in-law, that his son had given all this stuff to his daughter-in-law, and then a creditor came. Like this scenario happened. This came for the Chacham when they said, Tikra ksubasa, that v'tamar matnasa, well, she loses the ksuba, and all she has is the gift, but the gift was taken away from her. So be'etzem v'nimtzes kerachas mikan and mikan, and she's bald in both areas. Kilu, she loses the gift and she loses the ksuba. Okay, fine. So now, taima diyotza olav shtarchov. Now here's the thing: the only reason why she doesn't get the gift is because, well, it was taken away from her. Meaning she received the gift from Reuven, but when Shimon came along and said that Reuven owes him money, and therefore that property is meshubed to him, to Shimon, so he confiscated it from her. But if there wouldn't have been any Shimon over here, if there wouldn't have been any creditor, well, then she would receive the property as a gift. I.e., kosav kon chosav liishto. In the scenario, I'm just going back a little bit to say that. Meaning, so in the scenario, what we see is that in a scenario where a husband gives over all of his property to his wife, and he's a healthy guy, it would be considered a gift, right? So again, so where am I? So time of the also olav shtar chov. The only reason why she loses the gift is because Shimon came over with a document. Halo yatsa olav shtar chov. But if Shimon wouldn't, if there would have been no creditor, if Shimon wouldn't have said that he's owed the property, Kanya, it would belong to her. It would be a kinyan. It would be a matana. Uvmayim, what are we talking about? If we're talking about a shchivmira ha'amart lo yaso ela apotropis. Well, we had said that by a shchivmira at the beginning of where we started today, that by a shchivmira it would not be right. We said what do we say? We say akosav kon chazav lisha lo yaso ela apotropis. He makes her an apotropa. It's not an actual gift. By a shchivmira so el lav bibari. So rather, must be talking about a bari, and we're saying that it's taka amatona, it's not an apotropis. And for the Gemara nit, la'olam b'shchivmira, really it is talking about a shchivmira. Okay, it's talking about a shchivmira. So if it's talking about a shchivmira, so then why are we saying that it is a valid gift? I thought we said it would be an apotropi. Rav Avira mukila bechulu. Well, Rav Avira had said, what did Rav Avira say? If we go back to Kuflamad Aleph Mud Beis, 2 lines in the bottom, Rav Avira mishmei derava amar bechulu kani. Then all these cases, it would be considered a gift, right? Levarmi isha etzel achin ve isha etzel abal, right? So be'etzem, so Rav Avira would say, yeah, the reason why we're saying over here that it's a gift is we're talking about those scenarios where it would be considered a kinyan. Ravina mukila be'ishta arusa ve'ishta grusha, and Ravina who said that in all the cases it's not a gift except for ishta arusa and ishta grusha, so he would say that's talking about isha arusa and isha grusha. But we can say that it's talking about a shchivmira, and it wouldn't actually be a proof about a bari. Amr Rav Yosef bar Manyoimi, Amr Rav Nachman, this is Yosef bar Manyoimi. Halacha tikra ksubasa v'tamara matnasa. The halacha is that the ksube, she loses her ksuba, and all she has is the gift, but the gift was taken away by Shimon, so be'etzem she has nothing. She ends up being, losing everything, the ksuba and the gift. L'meimra de law also Rav Nachman basar umdina. Does that mean that Rav Nachman doesn't go based on sort of how does he translate umdina? Ni yude umdina. Right, even I don't know. It basically means like reason, like if she would have known that she was going to end up losing the property, then she wouldn't have sort of given up claims to the ksuba when she received the gift. Right. So from the fact that Rav Nachman is saying that she loses the claim to the ksuba means that Rav Nachman is saying that she loses the claim to the ksuba, and therefore we're not going to say, well, if she would have known that she was going to end up losing the property, then she wouldn't have relinquished the rights. Well, Rav Nachman seems to not be saying that because he's saying that she loses the right to her ksuba. But we learn in the Brayso, if you have a fellow whose son went traveling someplace, and then the father hears that his son died. Okay. And for Amad v'chasav kol nechasav la'acherim. So he says, all right, well, if I don't have a son anymore, I'm going to write my estate to somebody else. And then afterwards his son shows up. He's actually alive. Well, the gift still stands. No, it's not an actual gift, because because obviously if you would have known that his son was actually alive, low cost fund, he wouldn't have written his estate over to somebody else. So therefore we could say, look, he only wrote it over because he thought that his son was dead. If he would have known that his son was alive, then he would not have written over the estate to somebody else. So therefore, based on that approach, I would have thought that Rav Nachman would say over here that, well, if she would have known that the gift was going to be taken away from her, she wouldn't have sort of allowed this to replace her claim to the ksuba. So where am I? So for Amr Rav Nachman, Allah Rav Shimon ben Menashe. Rav Nachman says Allah Rav Shimon ben Menashe. So shouldn't that same logic apply here? So Shani Yosem, it's different over there. Denicha, well, Shani, it's different when it comes to the gift that the husband gives the wife. Well, the thing is, actually, when it comes to the wife receiving all the property from the husband, she is actually so honored that the husband kind of wrote over everything to her and what that represents, and how her position in society, that she's important enough that he gave her everything, and so that sort of prestige is something that she was willing to accept, even at the expense of her potentially her ksuba. Right? There was value that she received in any event from the fact that her husband was machshav her enough to kind of give her all of his stuff, and that's value in its own right, and therefore, even if she ends up ultimately losing the property because Shimon came along, that initial sort of, prestige that she got was valuable enough to her that would be acceptable to her, and therefore, even Rav Nachman would say there that she loses the field because even though she ended up losing the field, she still received something in terms of recognition. Okay, fine. So that was a scenario where Rava asked about, is it only by a shchiv mira or is it also by a bari? And now we get to a third scenario. Tananosim, we learned in Peah, hakosev nechosev livano. If somebody writes that all of his property is going to go to his sons, v'chosev liishto karka koshu, and he says, and my wife is going to get, this particular piece of property, not a large piece of property. She's going to get this. Right? My sons, I'm giving all of my property to my sons. My wife's going to get this small piece of property. Of the ksubasa, so now by receiving that gift, she receives that gift, and she's happy by receiving that gift. That in lieu of receiving the gift, she won't have any claims to the ksuba. Okay, so where am I? So my kosev l'chosev l'vonim v'chosev l'ishto karka kolshu of the ksubasa. Mishum the kosev l'ksubasa kolshu of the ksubasa. What? Just because he wrote that she's going to get epis as a gift, she loses any claim to collect her ksuba? So Omer Rav Tzadap b'mzakeloin al yoda. Well, it's more than that. She actually contributed to the kinyan, right? She provided, right? There was a kinyan sudar where he was marking all of his stuff to his kids and to the wife. So she actually provided the sudar, the cloth for the kinyan sudar. Therefore, she was actively involved in it, and that is why, sort of in accepting the gift, she also relinquished any claims to the ksuba. Shmuel says, "B'machalik lefoneo v'isho sekes." Shmuel says she doesn't actually have to be actively involved by providing the sudar, but even if she's just there and she doesn't say anything like, "Hey, I still want to get my ksuba," well, then that's enough, and she's relinquishing her ksuba. The right to her ksuba. Rabbi Yossi b'Chanina, Omer says, Rabbi Yossi b'Chanina, b'Omer la tli karka zo b'chsubasich. Well, he wrote in the document, meaning she wasn't necessarily there at the time of the division, but in the document that he gave to her, it says, take this little property that I'm giving you in lieu of the ksuba. Okay. Umikule ksuba shanu, and this is sort of leniency when it comes to a ksuba document, because we wouldn't say by any other, if somebody lends, if Shimon lends Reuven $1,000 and Reuven gives him something small, we don't assume that Shimon's relinquishing his claim to get paid back. Yet over here we're saying that when it comes to the ksuba contract, by the wife receiving a small gift, she's relinquishing the claim to her ksuba. Now, Tanam, we learn in a Mishnah, in that same Mishnah in Peah, Rabbi Yossi Omer says, Rabbi Yossi, im kibla aleo, if she accepted upon herself, if she explicitly said, I will receive this gift in lieu of the ksuba, well then, afal pi shelo kosav lo, even though he didn't write to her that this gift is in lieu of the ksuba, of the ksuba, so she loses her ksuba. So according to Rabbi Yossi, it's enough if she just says that she will accept it instead of in lieu of the ksuba, even if he didn't write it to her. But that would imply that according to the Tanakama, ksiva v'kabala boy, that he would require both writing it down and her explicitly receiving it. Yet that wasn't the case with Rav and Shmuel and Rabbi Yossi Reb Chanina. That's not how they explained the Tanakama. Right? Rabbi Yossi is saying, meaning from the fact that Rabbi Yossi says it's enough if she just accepts it, even if he didn't write it to her. It's enough if she just accepts it. What does that imply about the opinion of the Tanakama? That, well, the Tanakama says that he has to both write it and she has to accept it. Rabbi Yossi says, no, it's enough if she just accepts it. So from the fact that the implication of Rabbi Yossi is that according to the Tanakama, you have to both write it and accept it. He has to write it, she has to accept it. Well then, how do you understand Rav and Shmuel and Rabbi Yossi Reb Chanina, who don't say that both are required? So implying that according to the Tanakama, he would both have to write to her that it's in lieu of the ksuba, and she would have to accept that it's in lieu of the ksuba. And if you're going to say that, well, maybe this is entirely the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, and what Rabbi Yossi is saying is that it's either or, that either he could write it to her, or she can accept it. Either he could write to her that I'm giving you this gift in lieu of the ksuba, or she could, even if he didn't write it to her, but she can accept that this is in lieu of the ksuba, that I'm accepting this gift in lieu of the ksuba. So if we say that the Bryce is entirely Rabbi Yossi and it's either or, so then we can understand how the Rav and Shmuel and Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina are not requiring both. But that can't be. But we learn in the Bryce. So Rabbi Yehuda explains the Tanakama by saying, "A Moshe she'oisa sham v'kibla aleo." That it's only if she was there and accepted it upon herself. So Rabbi Yehuda explains to Tanakama that when it says Haisala, it means that she was there and she also accepted it upon herself, right? Again, that she was there and she accepted upon herself that she was going to receive this gift in lieu of the document, in lieu of the ksuba. But if she was there and she didn't also accept it upon herself, or if she accepted it upon herself but she was not there, law of the ksuba, so she didn't lose the ksuba, and that's a kasha on Rav and Shmuel and Rabbi Yosef Reb Chanina, because they all say that you don't require both. It's a kasha on them. Rav Nachman says Rav to Rav Nachman, Ho Rav, O Shmuel, O Rabbi Yosef Reb Chanina. So we have these opinions of Rav, Shmuel, Rabbi Yosef Reb Chanina, who we just said that we have kashas on. Mar, my svirle, but what do you, Rav Nachman, hold? Rav Nachman says, Shani Omer, I say, shutif ben abonim, that when he makes her when he makes her a partner together with the sons, i.e., he gives the sons the estate and gives her part of it. Of the ksubasa, she loses her ksuba like Rabbi Yossi, right? By doing just one of them, she would lose her ksuba. Manami was also stated, Amr of Yosef by Manyomi, Amr of Nachman came and Shasa Shutif ben Abonim of the ksubasa, that when he makes her a partner among the sons like this, that she receives part of the ksuba, she relinquishes. She receives part of the estate. She relinquishes the right to her ksuba, even if she only accepted it or was there and didn't say anything. But Rava says, Rava, bibari heach. Now, what about a healthy person? Right? Is this only by shchiv meira? What about a healthy person? Miyamina, do we say b'shchiv meira who the yada delay slave v'kamachla? Do we say that specifically by a shchiv meira she's relinquishing her right to collect ksuba because she says, well, he's about to die. I know that he doesn't have any property because he's giving up his entire estate, and I'm accepting upon myself that I'm going to accept this gift in lieu of the ksuba. So therefore, we're saying, okay, so she relinquishes her right to the ksuba. Aval bibari, but if he's actually healthy, sovra hadar kani, maybe she's only relinquishing her right to ksuba because she assumes that, well, so, I'm only relinquishing rights to this current property, but I assume that my husband's going to buy more property and I'll collect the ksuba from that. So maybe she wouldn't really be relinquishing her right. Odilma hashta mias leisley, or they say, yeah, but right now he doesn't have anything else, and based on what the scenario is right now, she's relinquishing everything. So we say she's relinquishing everything. Teku, we say, ich weiß nicht.